They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed I could really fly. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate.
Move everybody in the building, man. I know I popped up on you guys real late, but clap it up. Let's get it in. A lot to catch up on. Yeah, a lot to catch up on, man. Y'all know I've been down and out past couple of days, been sick, dealing with this flu, whooping my hind parts. But we good, man. We good. A lot of stuff to catch up on, and I wanted to take an opportunity to do that. This is my last day of the week. You guys know how my weekend situation works out. But we got an event coming up this weekend, Matchroom. Got some fights on that card, some significant fights. Obviously, we got the news going on in the space as well. Javante Lamont Roach seems to still be in the news. Richard Hitchinson's making some moves, which we need to kind of question and speak on Richard Hitchinson a little bit. Let's kind of see where Richardson Hitchins is really trying to go with his career right now at 140 pounds. We'll talk about that. Mauricio Sulaman backtracks a little bit of his words on his comments on Turki Al-Sheikh and Dana White venture. He's kind of backtracked a little bit. I wonder why. We'll talk about that as well. Middleweight division getting some attention this weekend. So, Ammo Williams in the division fighting, and he kind of had some big prospects for what he wants to see happen in the middleweight division in himself. What else we got to talk about? Oh, of course, an announcement coming out, which I'm pretty sure I've spoke about it in the community before, but Edwin De Los Santos, Frank Martin does seem like they're coming to finalize a fight. Seems like they're aiming for May. The fight's supposed to be happening at 140 pounds. We'll talk about that as well. Obviously, we know Frank Martin coming off of that last fight against Tank Davis. He got knocked out. He got stopped in that fight. This will be his big comeback fight, but not amazingly enough, not at 135, right? He'll be making his debut at 140, and it seems like Edwin De Los Santos will be joining him up there as well, leaving 135 to fight him at 140 as well. A common opponent between him and Shakur Stevenson, for whatever it's worth. We'll talk about that as well. Lou DiBella had a great interview this week, kind of spoke a little bit about what he thought about this whole entire Dana, Turkey, TKO, Nick Khan collabo coming together and what he thinks that means for the game. We also have the WBO that came out, mandated a fight between Alexander Usyk and Joseph Parker, right? That's interesting because there's also news circulating in the space that Usyk and Daniel Dubois are supposed to be coordinating a fight. So we got to kind of see how that ends up turning out, what makes more sense. Once again, the sanctioning body's kind of throwing, some might say, kind of throwing a shot at Turki Al-Sheikh's plans, or is he? Because Joseph Parker still works with Turkey as well, but you know how these sanctioning bodies work. But it is interesting that the WBC kind of threw a wrench in his plans to have that trilogy with Bivol and Beterbiev. Tried to throw the wrench. We don't know if it's officially done yet, but here we go again. Another mandate that's going to go ahead and remove a title from a current champion and kind of take away maybe a little bit from the prize, we might say, in Dubois fighting Alexander Usyk. And what else? I think Jose Benavidez Sr. also in the news, opening up a new facility out there in Seattle, supposed to be state-of-the-art. We'll talk about all that stuff. This is a pop-up live, last minute. I just decided to do it because it's going to be the end of the week. And, I'm taking the last 2 days off dealing with this flu. It's been kicking my ass. So, I wanted to at least touch base with the team and let y'all know that we still out here, right? We still out here doing the work. Shout out Chris Legg, said, make boxing great again. Can't stay on because I'm working, but want to pop up and say, what's good, Mr. Rain? No doubt. Salute. Champ Ross in the building. Wifey up there in the building. And Donnell Bell. Salute to you, Donnell. Graphics and stuff to go through, man. I do want to kind of start. Let me see. Where do I want to start? Well, let's start with some of the rumors, right? Speculation, Rumorville, right? Rumorville is Gervonta Tank Davis and Lamont Roach, which is a fight everybody's expecting to be a get back, but there's rumors going around that Gervonta Tank Davis may be moving away from the Lamont Roach fight, right? Maybe moving forward into bigger opportunities. Maybe he doesn't want to give the Lamont Roach the fight because, rumors are Lamont Roach's approach. This era of boxers, if you don't approach them correctly, if you don't say the right things to them the way they want to hear it, they take things very personal. And the way they usually deal with that personal stuff is, they don't fight you, right? They don't give you the payday. They don't reward you because you spoke to them kind of crazy. My thoughts on it is very simple at this point, right? At this point, Lamont Roach really has nothing to be pressing for. That's just me personally. I believe that through the eyes of the boxing space, in many ways, Lamont Roach already won the fight, right? He had won the fight already. We already saw what it is, right? The pressure's really on Gervonta Tank Davis to redeem a performance that some people might want to call it pedestrian, but I'll say that Lamont Roach, that would be taken away from Lamont Roach a little bit to sit there and kind of like downplay Gervonta Tank Davis's performance. But I'll say that Lamont Roach was able to make him look very regular, right? And we know about all of the controversy that was surrounding the knee and him sticking his head out the ring and all those different things that happened to make it, the hair grease in his eyes, all those things, right? But at the end of the day, Lamont Roach has already kind of achieved all that he was going to achieve from that outside of actually beating him, right? Of actually beating him, like getting the decision and taking the belt off his waist. Most people saw that fight, understand that the knockdown, that the knee was an official knockdown, that is scored correctly. Lamont Roach should be the current WBA lightweight champion. It's really up to Gervonta Tank Davis if he feels like this is something he needs to redeem or not. Lamont Roach has a lot of options. He doesn't have to fight Tank Davis next. And I'll be honest with you, I question and say, I don't know if he should even be fighting Tank Davis next. I know that sounds crazy, right? I know it sounds crazy to say that, but he's already built up some momentum for himself. He can get a big payday fighting against a Shakur Stevenson. He could get a big payday fighting against a Keyshawn Davis. Both those champions in that division have offered him fights. They both feel like he won that fight against Tank Davis. He also has his title that he can defend at 130 pounds, right? He can go down there and unify with old Shaki Foster or Emmanuel Navarrete. There's a lot of options for Lamont right now. And does Lamont need to really be stressing Gervonta Tank Davis, giving him the fight or whatever have you? I don't know if he necessarily needs to, right? But at the same time, I'll say this. I don't believe the rumors. I believe Gervonta Tank Davis got that dog in him and that he want to redeem it. I think he wants to run it back, right? I think if we don't see him run it back, it's probably going to be a lot to do with some handlers type of politics that's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Salute Anthony Lamar. And shout out Teach, man. Shout out to you, fam. He said, looks to me, both guys want the rematch. I don't think I've heard anything about Tank wanting to move away unless I'm missing something. Yeah, Teach, there's rumors going on out there saying that that Tank may be pulling away from the fight. I don't think those rumors are I think those rumors are based off of Tank's press conference, basically saying that he'd like to have the rematch, but there was different plans. He doesn't know if it's going to happen. And like I was going to say earlier, if it doesn't happen, it'd be more so because of his handlers, right? Knowing Gervonta Tank Davis not to be the kind of person to actually put out fights and press for fights to happen. He kind of takes what comes to him. He doesn't really do that. If he didn't fight Lamont Roach next, I'd have to say it would be some kind of politics involved in it. It would just be up to Tank to really put his foot down if those politics were on the table and make a statement there and let it be known like, hey, damn the politics. This is my career. It's the end of my career. My last few fights. I'm not going out like this. I'm fighting Lamont next and get that payday. We'll see what happens. The rumors are spinning around saying that. I've heard nothing from the Tank's camp or from Tank himself or even from Lamont Roach saying that there were issues with the fight being made. But I'm hearing on the internet, different channels and everything kind of pushing at the idea that Tank may be not taking that fight next. If he doesn't, I don't think it's a big deal for Lamont Roach. I think Lamont Roach is definitely in position to do what he wants at this point. He has the momentum building for him. He's kind of gotten some stardom since that fight against Tank, a victory, some might want to call it. I don't see that being an issue for him, right? But we'll see what happens with that. I'm not going to give that too much light. It is what it is. I agree with you, Cheech. I think they should definitely rematch, without a doubt. They definitely should rematch. I think that's the right thing to do. But once again, if there's some sort of politics getting in the way of that fight happening, I wouldn't advise Lamont Roach to hang his career up waiting on that rematch to happen, right? There are fights out there clearly that can be made. A lot of opportunities that can be taken advantage of for him. He might take that into consideration if this does turn out to be some sort of, chess play. It should be really a lay down situation, easy. Let's run it back. June, July, around that time. Let's get it done. Let's get all the questions answered, and we'll see what happens at that point. Salute to Echo in the building. I'm doing good, Echo, man. I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing okay. I'm still dealing with the little flu thing a little bit, but we're moving through it. We're moving through it, man. Mr. Big Play. Tank is in protective custody. Let me put it on the screen what he said right here. Tank is in protective custody. He hide behind, I'm just a good employee doing what I'm told, but his fans call him a boss. Imagine that. Well, listen, man, I can't even push back at that. I'm being honest with you. I think most people who've had any type of criticism for Tank, me, myself, if I've had any criticisms for him, is his inability to, step into that boss position and dictate his career a little bit more. It's either he's not dictating his career or he is dictating his career, which kind of makes it even worse, right? Because it's like he's purposely choosing not to fight these fights that the fans are asking him to fight. So, but we'll see what he does, man. From what I can tell, I feel like they want to fight each other. I think they both spoke on it clearly that that's what they want. I don't see them evading the fight, man. Michael Mateo, salute, man, said, I was Lamont. Let me see here what he said here. He said, I was Lamont Roach. I would ask for a bigger payday if Tank wants to rematch. I would think naturally, Mike, that would happen, right? I would think the bigger payday would come naturally. I think the fight's built up more steam just off the points of the pay-per-view. I would expect him to make a little bit more money than he did last time. But yeah, I agree with you, though. I definitely agree with you, man. Salute Clay, only, let me see here. Country Q, salute to you, family. Says, Salute Clay, only move I can see is the Loma move. Then back to Roach. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Either the Loma move or if he jumps into, obviously, the fights we want to see him in, either Keyshawn or Shakur, but it is what it is. Let's see here. Echo says he's not testing himself. It's simple. Yeah, it really does come down to that. We're not really into making excuses for these fighters like that. If you're not testing yourself, you're not, and you can't be getting the credibility of somebody who is testing themselves, right? So we'll see what Javante and Lamont kind of figure out. How they go. We won't hear about it until a few months before the fight happens, but it is what it is, right? But we got an event coming up this weekend on Matchroom, right? A headline by Austin Ammo Williams, right, is fighting and headlining this card, and funny enough, co-headlining Edgar Berlanga, right, versus Jonathan Gonzalez Ortiz. This guy coming out of Puerto Rico, 35 years old, right? But 20-0, 16 knockouts. Interesting, right? Interesting resume. From what I understand, this guy may have spent a little time in prison a little bit, which might have taken him away from the game. This is his get-back fight right here. Edgar Berlanga coming off of his performance off Canelo Alvarez. We saw that happen, right? Back in, when was that? Back in September, right? Was it Mexican Independence Day? And Edgar Berlanga seems to be taking this fight on an undercard to Austin Ammo Williams in Orlando, Florida. Thoughts on that? Man, thoughts on that? I think Edgar Berlanga has been an interesting story. Just watching his journey in the boxing game, how much success and early knockouts he had in his early in his career, and the stardom that he got being from Puerto Rico. And he's not an ugly dude. He's a good looking gentleman. Pause, right? And the jewelry, the affiliation with Fat Joe and rappers and stars, and kind of had a claim to stardom before he actually earned it in the ring, actually had an opportunity to fight for a title or do any of those things. And then he goes into this Canelo Alvarez fight, which a lot of people felt like he didn't deserve that fight. They felt like obviously David Benavidez should have been the one in line to get that fight. But listen, Edgar Berlanga asked in a nice way, I guess, right? You know how it goes. We were just talking about that earlier. And ultimately end up getting the fight with Canelo, went 12 rounds with Canelo, and got the credit of fighting Canelo for 12 rounds the same way somebody would have gotten credit for a victory. And he's been riding that energy for a moment now, right? He's been taking the momentum of that fight and, talking about being a star, that he's a star now. He fought Canelo Alvarez. And I don't know if the boxing space is embracing Edgar Berlanga the same way. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that the boxing space is embracing the Edgar Berlanga campaign of being a star as closely as he is, right? Salute to Maya Egypt. Salute, Queen. It's interesting, right? Because there are fights out there for Edgar to be making, but we all know, if you don't know, this is his last fight under his Matchroom contract with Eddie Hearn. And he's communicated that to the space and basically said that he's going to be embracing free agency, that he knows that he's a big star and that, he's a big commodity for anybody to make some of the biggest fights. I'm not too sure. I saw him do the press conference today. He came up there with his son, matching outfits. His son had the big chain on him, just in Edgar Berlanga fashion, right? Being the big star on the stage, but at the same time, co-headlining an event in Orlando, Florida. It looked kind of weird to me. I'm not going to lie to you. It did look a little weird to me for him to kind of carry it that way. Let me see. Michael Mateo says, Edgar Berlanga better watch out. This kid's power puncher, from what I heard from some people that knows him from the gym in my island, Puerto Rico. This kid is a puncher. 100% he's a puncher. 20 wins, 16 knockouts. 20 fight, right? 20 fights, 0 defeats, 16 knockouts. But he has some time missing from the game. He's 35 years old. So, is he past his prime? Would be a question on this weekend. Now, Edgar Berlanga is looking to stop this dude and probably should stop this guy if he's going to back up that talk about being the next big star. He's talking about making fights with Caleb Plant, Jaime Munguia, Jamal Charlo. He's bringing up those names. Even a Diego Pacheco, right? Could be a legitimate competitor that he'll be sitting in front of. Is Edgar Berlanga tried true at this point is the question. What we saw with him from Canelo Alvarez, did that show us that that Edgar Berlanga is here? Is he one of those guys? Listen, I cheered Edgar Berlanga on when he fought against Canelo Alvarez. I really did. I wanted to see him do something special. I was kind of upset with Canelo a little bit for not fighting David Benavidez, and I was hoping that Edgar Berlanga could, kind of be the cherry pick that went wrong. He fought, but once he got clipped and dropped, he did get a little defensive, right? He showed the dog in him, but did that fight do more for him as a fighter, or is he pretty much in the same space? I don't know going into this fight right now that he has, that I'm not still looking to see the best version of Edgar Berlanga, if that makes any sense. I still feel like I'm looking to see the best version of him. Like I still haven't seen it, right? Let me see. Salute, Blue Hustle Man. What up, Claymore in the chat? What's up? Salute. Let me see. Echo says it depends who you have knocked out. That's true. Michael Mateo says, I agree. I think Matchroom Eddie Hearn don't really believe in Edgar. I think, I agree with you on that. I don't know if they believe in Edgar the way Edgar believes in Edgar. I think they want to see more from him. I think they want him to be a little more active. They may feel like he went into that Canelo Alvarez fight a little early, right? Like he got his payday. He took advantage of it. Nobody expected him to walk away from that. But there's still some developing needed with Edgar Berlanga. And it seems like Edgar Berlanga may not feel like he needs a development. And he doesn't want to do, he wants to be treated like a face of boxing. And has he earned that? I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I'll be looking closely on Saturday to see how he performs. But, you're talking about being a big superstar. This is your last fight on your contract with Matchroom. Doesn't seem like you're going to be going back to Matchroom, as he's stating that he's going to be embracing the free agency. He's looking forward to it, to kind of see what kind of opportunities are out there for him. He wants to make the big fights. He knows he's part of the big fights. I would think the PBC would be somebody who might pick him up if they want to put together the big fights. He's a great fighter to stand across from Caleb Plant. Jaime Munguia as well. Jamal Charlo, Jaime Munguia is over there at Top Rank, but But still, right? Diego Pacheco's over there at Matchroom. I don't think he really wants to fight Diego Pacheco. I'm not going to lie to you. But let's see what he does on Saturday against Jonathan Gonzalez Ortiz. Like Michael Mato said, a real puncher. A real puncher in Jonathan Gonzalez, you know what I mean? And, you know, a dangerous fighter and a hungry fighter, right? A fighter who has nothing to lose and everything to gain that fight. Sometimes that's a guy you don't want to be in front of, you know what I mean? Super high risk and really no reward, right? Really no reward in that kind of fight. Let me see here. Mike Mato said, I agree. Believe in Edgar. What here? John Jeremiah, what are you saying? Tank should move like Canelo. Not give a damn what anybody thinks. From this point on, it's his career. Money should be the only deciding factor unless these content creators, fans are going to pay him. All right, man, look, John, listen, I'm okay with that. That's how you feel. That's cool. That's cool. You know, I myself have embraced Tank's, the things that are important to Tank. I've embraced them and understand them to be not necessarily aligned with what the pundits in the space want to see from him, right? And I think you're right. I think it's his career. I think he's worked on his career. He's going to get the fruits of his own labor. What he eat don't make me, you know what I mean? So without a doubt, man, if that's how Gervonta wants to carry it and move forward, and he doesn't want to fight the fights, and he only wants to fight the fights that make financial sense to him, and he doesn't care to impress anybody, that's okay. That's definitely okay, man. We're ready to deal with that Tank. We've been dealing with that Tank anyway up to this point. So trust me, it's not no skin off my back. Shout out to Bradley 68 in the building. Bradley, you changed your name back. You went back to Bradley 68. Salute to you, King. Let me see. Echo says Caleb Plant would be a good fight. Also, they don't like each other. It'd be interesting build up to that fight. 100%. There's definitely some big fights to be made out there. Big fights to be made out there for Edgar Berlanga, but you know, he has to continue delivering, right? And he's coming off a loss from Canelo Alvarez. Let's see what's happened in that camp over there. It looks like they're doing some good work over there. I can't remember the name of his trainer right now off the top of my head, but he has a good trainer and a trainer who's not taking any mess from him. So I would assume that would work out good for him in the long run. Also on that card, we've got Jalil Hackett fighting against Jose Roman Vasquez. You guys remember Jalil Hackett a few months back fighting against Mr. Vasquez and taking that loss in a very controversial decision. In my opinion, I think a lot of people thought that Jalil won that fight, but you know, it didn't work for him. The judges went against him. Jalil didn't cry about it, went back to the drawing board with his father and said, listen, we just want to come get it back in blood. We're not worried about the loss, right? That's cool. That's definitely cool, right? But Jalil Hackett has some questions and some boxes to check as well. In that last fight against Jose Roman Vasquez, we saw Jalil Hackett kind of showing his youth a little bit of lack of experience, lack of maturity in the ring, being overzealous, chasing the knockout, taking a lot of risks that wasn't necessary, and maybe that's what worked against him in the scorecards with the judges. Also, we heard about Jalil Hackett having a very difficult weight cut in that last camp, right? Actually, in this press conference today, it seemed like Jalil Hackett kind of embraced the fact that he did have a hard weight cut, kind of admitted it. He's a big guy, like he said, right? He says, I'm a big dude, man. He said, I'll be honest with you, if I wasn't boxing, I'd probably be in the NFL somewhere. That's saying a lot, right? This kid's fighting at 147 pounds. To say that if he wasn't fighting or boxing, that he'd be in the NFL, I mean, that means he'd probably be all about 200 pounds, right? 200 pounds, a little bit less, give or take 200 pounds. He's fighting all the way down at 147 pounds. Jalil Hackett has been sitting at 147, looking not well at his weigh-ins for a while now. If you guys see Jalil Hackett outside of him getting ready for a fight, I would argue that it would be hard to recognize him because he looks so different than what he looks like when he's doing a weigh-in. But he's choosing to stay at 147. He started his career at 147 and says he doesn't want to leave that division until he actually gets himself a championship. I said this on Blue Blood the other day. A good friend of mine, actually on this channel right here, I think it was Roscott, who said anybody who's not a heavyweight is a weight bully, right? Because everybody's cutting weight. Everybody's cutting weight to be in the division that they're in. They're probably walking around, not 10 out of 10 times, they're walking around 20 to 40 pounds heavier than what they're fighting at, right? Like a lot of guys 40, closer to 40 than they're 20 over what they're fighting at. But he's here. He's at 147. He wants to redeem his loss. He wants to get it back in blood against Jose Roman Vasquez. Eddie Hearn obliges him, gets him the fight. This time in Orlando. Last time it was in Jose Ramon Vasquez's backyard in Puerto Rico. So now we don't have the judges. Seemed like that was going to be a question, even though Orlando is a heavy Puerto Rican community. But I would think that Jalil would expect to get a way better way fairer judging, and hopefully not even take it to judging, right? This will be Jalil Hackett's 11th professional fight. He's 9-1 right now. That loss being against Jose Roman Vasquez. Let's see what he goes ahead and he does with this opportunity to get it back. For someone with a difficult weight cut, let me see. Echo said he did win the fight. Yeah, Echo. He said for someone with a difficult weight cut, he threw a lot of punches. 100%. He definitely did. He definitely did. You know, I don't think his conditioning was in question in that fight, right? I'm not sure if his conditioning was in question that fight. But the weight cut did seem to be a difficult thing from what rumors have it, and what now Jalil's confirmed, that the weight cut may have been a little bit of a tough weight cut this time around. Should be a better weight cut. What he's saying, that he's actually been on point with his nutritionist and everything like that, and that he's expecting to be in even better shape and condition and be a way more disciplined fighter. That's what I'm looking to see from Jalil Hackett this time around, is to see him be way more disciplined in that ring than he was when he fought a few months back. So we'll see what he does. Also, we got Jermaine Ortiz on that card as well. Jermaine Ortiz, this will be his second fight since he fought Teofimo Lopez, a fight in controversial decision where a lot of people thought he won that fight. But, you know, ever since then, his last fight, let's see what Jermaine did in the last fight. I believe he got a stoppage in his last fight. Let's see here. Yes, he got a TKO, fourth round TKO over Christian Ruben Mino in his last fight. He's on a campaign back at 140 pounds right now, trying to campaign and get into the right conversations. And this is a fight that's going to put him right back in that conversation against Yomar Alamo. This guy 22-3, 22-3, 1 draw. Sorry. Jermaine Ortiz is just one of those fighters who's one of those high risk, low reward fighters. He's going to box you. We've seen his only losses against Teofimo Lopez and against Vasily Lomachenko. And both fights very close. The Teofimo Lopez fight, a controversial decision in that one, and against Lomachenko, I don't think it was controversial, but it was a very close fight. It could have gone either way, right? But it went Lomachenko's way, but it was a close fight. Jermaine did a great job fighting against Vasily Lomachenko. So he's been in there with some great fighters. He's got the experience. He's got the pedigree. I'm expecting him to do some great things here against Yomar Alamo and see him move forward and get involved in some title eliminators or things of that nature, get himself in the conversation to fight one of these champions at 140 pounds. We'll see what he does, right? Let's see here. Salute student 7 teacher. Salute. Echo says he's a good fighter with good technical skills. 100% Echo. Very good fighter. Let me see. Michael Mato says, I'm looking forward to watching Jermaine Ortiz. Love your channel. Big supporter of your channel. Always look forward to watching all your content. Thank you. Thank you, Michael Monto. Thank you, man. Yeah, man. I've been down and out, man, with this flu. Even right now, kind of dealing with it. But I wanted to definitely touch base, man. I didn't go on yesterday or the day before that, just trying to get this all together, man. So I wanted to build a little bit here. Let me see. Kenny Ellis is Tank's coach. Is Jalil? Wait, hold on. Kenny Ellis is Tank's coach. Is Jalil is probably going up in weight. Yeah, Kenny's definitely working with Jalil. I know that. And I want to say he's working with Tank. And I say that with a little bit of pause, as I'm speaking, because I don't know all the way, because it does look like there's maybe some things going over in that camp. I don't know. I don't want to be the one to spread rumors, but it does look like there's some issues going over there with the delegation of responsibility as far as Tank's team is concerned. So I would like to think Kenny's still part of that team over there, but I know he's definitely working with Jalil Hackett and his father on getting him ready for these fights, without a doubt. Shout out to Mr. Big Play Bray, going ahead, showing some love, putting some color. Hit the thumbs up, match the $2. Definitely, man. Y'all match the $2. For sure. Let's see. Bradley said that you're talking to freaking flyer. He fighting Ryan in his head. He more worried about Ryan than the guy he's fighting. Look at the press conference. You're talking about Devin, right? Yeah. I'm interested in seeing what Devin's gonna do, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that experience he had with Ryan Garcia was a very traumatic experience, man. And I'm going outside of the PEDs, right? The PEDs is definitely part of it because he had it in his system, but I just think just the shock of being kind of exposed that way to constantly being getting hit with a left hook that he should have been preparing for the whole entire training camp has to do something to the ego, right? And you see it kind of bleeding out into things. Even the father having that moment, that tense moment with the reporter, or Todd Grissom, I want to say his name is, and the way he was just upset with Todd Grissom for not representing his son the right way. Seems like that press conference, the pressure of the place booing Devin, really got under Bill Haney's skin. And one might say the pressure's getting a little bit to the camp. Maybe not necessarily Devin as much, right? Devin seemed to carry himself pretty cool, calm, and collected on the stage, but Bill kind of exposed a little bit of a weak link in the chain a little bit in the way he kind of went off on Todd Grissom. It just seemed out of character for him. Normally, it seems like Bill Haney is way more laid back and chill. I mean, he was kind of laid back and chill in the way he was getting at Todd Grissom, but at the same time, you felt the tense tense energy coming from him. Very upset, very upset, and not a fan of the way boxing's been treating his son lately. You know what I mean? We'll see what that turns into for in May when they fight. Flyer Frequent says, Clay, is Keith Thurman the best or at least a force at 154? Now, he ain't the best. He ain't the best. But I'm going to tell you like this. He's not the best. But Keith, and we should talk about it now, right? Let's talk about it. Keith Thurman and Brock Jarvis had a fight Wednesday morning or Wednesday night or Tuesday night, or I don't even know how the schedule worked out, right? And Keith Thurman just showed that he was just levels above, that there's levels to this game. And Brock Jarvis just was not the opponent that was going to test Keith Thurman. But I saw something in Keith Thurman to say that if you're not supposed to be in the ring with him, he's not going to let you hang out with him anymore, right? It does seem like he has some fire under him now that he knows that this is it for him. This is his last chance at doing something special in the sport. He spent a lot of time sitting on the sideline, talking a good game, but not being active. And now he's had this great performance. Rumors going around, people want to see him with Errol Spence or even see him in there with Tim Tszyu next, I guess, because Tim Tszyu has a fight coming up. I think Keith Thurman is a great dance partner for any fighter at 154. I think he can beat a lot of fighters at 154. But I do think he's old. And I think he's gone past his best days. I'm being honest with you guys. I think he's gone past his best days. And he'll do some fights, some special fights, make some money. But if he gets in there with one of these young little killers, a Virgil Ortiz, or even a Xander Zayas, or Charles Conwell, I can just go down the list. Any of the top 10 guys, I think I'll give Keith Thurman a lot more than he can probably handle. I'll be honest with you. That's where I'm at with Keith Thurman. But I did see the performance. It was a great performance on Wednesday night or Tuesday night. Like I said, once again, I had to watch the replay because I think it came on like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning or something like that. It was a great performance, man. Definitely a great performance. Let me see here. Let me see. Mike Mato said Devin's going back to his boxing kills. Like you said, he tried to be a puncher with Ryan. That's not how Devin fights. That's what I'm expecting from Devin Haney. I'm expecting him to go back to boxing and not really getting caught up on being a puncher, even though every time you see a video of him training, he's like working on power shots, it seems. But at the same time, I expect him to go back to that. Does that get him through a Ryan fight? I would think so. But I think the big thing that we're all going to be looking forward to, whether we want to admit it or not, is we're going to want to see how much the last fight hurt his mentality, right? How much the last fight stained his brain. And if he's going to be able to leave that in the past, take the lessons from that were there to be had, and move forward and be a better fighter and compete without the reservation that could be there off the strength of, getting clipped as many times as he did by Ryan Garcia. Right? Let me see here. Let me see. Bradley says, I would hate to get hit with the uppercut. I would hate to get hit with that uppercut that Keith hit that young man with. Yeah, Keith put those punches together beautifully, right? I think it was a right hook, left hook, then a left uppercut right up the middle, right between the guards. His high guard, it was vicious. It was definitely vicious. Echo says the left hook from Ryan is good and no telegraphic. Doesn't pull it back. It can be a problem for anyone who's not aware. 100%. 100%. 100%. I agree. Let me see here. Do you know who Devin training with? Do I know who? I know he's working with Mickey Bay, and I know that he's working with who else is he working with? He's working with Mickey Bay, and he's working with somebody else too. Can't remember. I know he has a couple of trainers over there. They pulled in a whole little team for Devin. You know, Bill is not going to spare any expense or spare any avenue, any alley to get the best of the best for Devin. It is what it is. Let's see here. Keith has a high IQ. Keith has a high IQ fighter and still has that one-time power. We have to see if his legs are still there. Yeah, I mean, Keith Thurman is just a all-around great fighter. The only thing I would hold against Keith Thurman is his age and his lack of activity, right? That activity is just does something, especially with the age, combined with the age. Like I said, what I saw on Wednesday night or Wednesday morning, whatever it was impressive. But it was against Brock Jarvis. And I believe Ant McQueen kind of highlighted this. Just, this kid started his career, his professional boxing career, fighting at like 117 pounds. You know what I mean? And he gained weight, naturally gained weight. And now he's fighting at 154, competing against, once a pound for pound fighter in Keith Thurman. Keith might have was supposed to do that, right? Maybe he was supposed to do that. What does that look like against a Tim Tszyu? What does that look like against a Charles Conwell, right? What does that look like against just a better overall boxer who has a lot more ability to punish? You know what I mean? We got to think about all that. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Spades. That's my damn son, man, with the $20 hop. Davis. I thought for sure you'd be sleeping right now. I don't know what you're doing up. Salute to my brother, Blue Blood Sports. Pop up live, man. I was like, let me go up there and just build with the family. I wanted to speak on a couple of things that's going on in boxing right now. Definitely want to take the time to say that. Mauricio Sulaman, let's move on to the next topic here. Mauricio Sulaman has a change of heart. He has a change of heart, guys. He says, you know what? Everything that Turkey is doing, I'm going to support it. I support anybody trying to do something great in boxing, right? But he didn't feel like that a few days back, right? He felt a little insulted, a little challenged that Turkey didn't allow Canelo Alvarez to show his WBC title, to represent the brand, even put out a text message or a tweet across the space to all the boxing champions, all the WBC champions, to take pictures with their belts and show that they're proud to be WBC champions. Clearly feeling a little bit of pressure from the new found relationship between Turki Al-Sheikh and Dana White, who've always been cool, but now have a business relationship and plan on bringing something new to the boxing space in the boxing league, right? Where they're going to eliminate a lot of these titles. They're going to make it one title per division. They're going to bring it back down to 8 divisions and a bunch of other things that they plan on implementing. Things that don't sound like they involve the sanctioning bodies, hence Mauricio Sulaman. But for whatever reason, Mauricio Sulaman has decided to have a change of heart and retract a lot of those words that he said before and show support for what Turkey's doing. I'm sure, guys, it has nothing to do with the prospect Grand Prix that's supposed to be kicking off in the next month or two. For the prospects in a WBC Grand Prix with like 132 to 160 plus prospects that are going to be competing in that Riyadh season is going to be financing. I'm sure it has nothing to do with that, right? Or the fact that the most money that is being paid out right now is by Turki Al-Sheikh. And if you want your WBC champion and you have vested interest in making money off of your WBC champion, you want them getting the biggest purses. And right now, the biggest purses are being offered by Turki Al-Sheikh. I think people have it twisted sometimes when they hear about what Turkey's doing with Dana and they think that he's going to cut off the promoters. I don't think that's what's going to happen, right? I don't believe that's what's going to happen. I believe he's going to continue to work with the promoters the way he's been doing it on the Rehab Season platform. He's going to be operating with them on the Ring Magazine platform as well, operating with them normally, acknowledging the sanctioning bodies, having the champions fight each other, unifying belts, making coordinating undisputed title runs, right? But at the same time, giving Dana White the go ahead, right? The green light to go ahead and start this new league up to where the rules are a little bit more easier. It's a little easier to follow the fighters, the champions, easier for the casual fan to kind of get involved with it on a ground level up and kind of follow these fighters and become fans of these fighters, and probably more importantly, become fans of boxing, right? For the new fans who are not familiar with the way all these sanctioning bodies work, because it can become confusing, right? You got the Intercontinental belt, you got interim titles, you got regular titles, you got super titles, you got silver titles. It just gets complicated, to say the least. When you just even talking about it makes your head spin a little bit. And I think Turkey's trying to get ahead of all that and really just give something that's a little bit more palatable for the new fan in boxing. But a lot of promoters have been feeling the pressure, right? A lot of promoters have been feeling the pressure. They've been feeling it. They're saying to themselves, damn, what is he going to do? Is he going to cut us off? Is he saying, what do you mean boxing, Dana's here to fix boxing? Nothing's wrong. Boxing isn't broken. Well, I think I might beg to differ a little bit, right? I think there's been a lot of boxing being broken for like the past 10 to 20 years or plus, 20 plus years that people have been complaining about boxing with the sanctioning bodies, with the poor judging. We just coming off 2 weeks ago off of a horrible situation with Gervonta Tank Davis taking a knee and the referee not calling it a knockdown. The judge is not obviously factoring that knockdown in there, and somebody in the Lamont Roach losing opportunity to get a very big win on his record, as well as a championship that he would have gotten from 135 pounds. So boxing does have some things that it needs to fix. Is Turkey going to fix that? I don't know. Is Turkey going to fix it? I don't know if Turkey's going to fix it. I mean, look, he's just another guy who likes boxing with a whole bunch of damn money, right? But at the end of the day, what do they say? Absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So we got to see what he does with his power, his newfound power that he has, and let's see how he decides to wield it. But Mauricio Sulaman, for whatever reason, has decided to go ahead and retract words and had a change of heart on how he looks at this whole entire Ring Magazine championship belt and how he looks at this venture that Turkey and Dana White are putting together and Nick Khan is putting together with TKO. I think it's going to be a great situation for boxing. I think when you give the fighters options and opportunities, it just makes it better for them. It's an open, free market to know that they're not having to take just what you give them, that there's other things on the table that they can get involved with to feed their family and take care of themselves. I think it is what it is, right? Regardless of what pushback the space wants to give to it, I think this doesn't do nothing but help boxing. But we'll see what happens in the long run, right? So let's move on a little bit and let's talk about the main event a little bit. Ammo Williams. No, let's leave that for a second. Let's talk about Edwin De Los Santos and Frank Martin. Edwin De Los Santos and Frank Martin. I heard about this fight getting put together damn near, I want to say well over 6 months ago, right? I was hearing that this fight was in the works. I think this is a great fight for Frank Martin. I think we need to see who Frank Martin is going to be after he got knocked. Anytime somebody gets knocked out the way Frank Martin got knocked out, you got to see who they're going to be when they come back in the ring. You got to see who they're going to be. I think it's a great fight. I think Edwin De Los Santos is looking for his redemption for that, his last performance being against Shakur Stevenson. We saw how that went. We also know that that was a long time ago, so Edwin De Los Santos has been outside the ring for a moment now. And Frank Martin, gets an opportunity to get a big win against a common opponent with Shakur Stevenson, right? In Edwin De Los Santos. It is what it is. Blue Blood said Frank Martin said it's not true yet. Yeah, I hear you, Blue. You know what I mean? It's always in the works. It's always been in the works. But I happen to I want to say I happen to know that it's been in the works for a while. So it's probably not finalized yet, but I could believe that it's probably getting close to being finalized. Probably some last minute things are trying to get put together. Maybe the fight doesn't happen, right? But I know for me, I've been hearing about it for over, like I said, at least the past 6 months I've been hearing it. So we'll see what happens. I'm hearing it aiming for May. I know it's not finalized because one thing about PBC, if they don't post it out there, it's probably not done yet. but it is what it is, right? Let me see, Ross Cott. I hope it happens. If not, give us Keyshawn versus Edwin. Ooh, yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I heard that too. Recently, I heard Edwin kind of calling Keyshawn out, saying that he kind of wanted that shot. We'll see what happens. Echo Blueblood, how are you? It's been a long time. Yeah, man. Ross Cott, Martin is fighting a harder puncher than Delos Santos. That's a dangerous fight, but Santos has been on a long break. 100% Ross Cott. He's been on a long, long break. This is the perfect time to fight. And then when Delos Santos, if you Frank Martin, it's almost like a tune-up fight, but a guy with a little bit of a name. So it kind of works out for him. It's not yet anyway. All right, Nick. No doubt. Salute to J.R. Spock, man. Said all hail Claymore Rain, the greatest in the game. We all know the young bull and Malachi are fake news. No, Malachi, my guy. I don't know about that, Spock. But salute to you. Malachi, my guy for sure. 100. That's definitely my guy. The other one, yeah, man. Yeah. You right on that. You right on the nail on that one, bro. I don't deal with homie. But thank you for the $5 holler. The legend in the building said Edwin coming off of a close to 2-year layoff and Frank coming off a stoppage loss. Right, LS. Both those guys, you know, it seems like the perfect fight for both of those guys. You got Frank Martin coming off of a big stoppage the way he just did, and then you got Delos Santos coming off of like a 2-year layoff. It seems like a great fight to put together for those guys, right? And it can't be that expensive to put together at this point either, right? So I think there's a good chance we see that fight. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Sue L Dub said, "What's good?" Let me see. Echo, LSS, let me bomb. They probably leaked it to gauge interest. Yeah. I think that's what they did. I think they're letting the information out a little bit just to kind of see if the interest is there. And I think there's gonna be. I think the response is gonna be. There's gonna be some interest there. I think people want to see Frank Martin come back. He's gonna be coming into a 140-pound weight class division. Edwin Delos Santos just kind of checks those boxes, right? Being that he just leaving 135 himself. Frank Martin doesn't have to go in there and just jump into the ring with a killer. You don't need to go fight a Sabril Matias or, you know what I mean, or go into a championship fight or fight a fight that might be too dangerous. He's just getting acclimated to the weight division. Why not make it Edwin Delos Santos, somebody who's been fighting at 135 for the majority of his career and also has been on a 2-year layoff. Sounds like he checks the boxes on making a decent fight. Let me see here. L Dub says, I don't like Frank versus Edwin. If it's next, both guys will not be at their best. Frank has a new trainer. Edwin is coming off a shoulder injury, blood clots, and ring rust. I'm cool on it. I hear you, L Dub. I hear you, man. But let me ask you this, L Dub. Who do you think Frank Martin should go in there next against then? If he's coming in at 140, who would you have him fight against? That'll be a good fight for him. You know what I mean? JR said, what up, Bradley? How's yeah, boom, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Who would you have him fight against? Ray Davis says, well, they are going to make it pay-per-view or not because the PBC has only one fight, not pay-per-view, and scheduled in May. Yeah. It's probably going to be pay-per-view, let's be honest. Oh, no, you know, I wouldn't be shocked if they put it on a free card. I'll be honest with you. Claggett? Nick J, you said Claggett at 140? I actually forgot Edwin also has the room with health issues too. Yeah, LS, yeah. Yeah, for an opponent, L Dub, who would you put him in there? Nick J, you think Steve Claggett? Steve Claggett gonna be rough, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Like it's like one of those guys. Like I don't know, that's a rough fight for Frank. I don't think Frank gonna lose it, but I think he's gonna get punched on. I think he definitely gonna get punched on. Angel Fierro, 140. I like it, L Dub. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like Angel Fierro at 140 for Frank Martin. I like that fight, man. I like it, man. Aaron Gonzalez says you should do the same thing Showbiz the adult did. Well, what's that? What's that, Aaron? What does Show do? Rancis Oberoso. Okay. What did Showbiz do? Aaron Gonzalez? Claggett's 147-pound fighter drained for Tio. Echo. Claggett isn't a bad fighter. Not at all. Jermaine Ortiz, I think, is a little too much for Frank Martin. I think Jermaine is well acclimated to 140 pounds. He's looking to go up. he's a high risk, low reward fight for Jermaine at this point. I mean, Frank Martin did have that fight with Tank Davis, but this is 140 pounds. He's already kind of been working his way back into the championship conversation. I don't know. Frank Martin versus Sandor Martin and Edwin De Los Santos versus Barroso. Okay. Frank Martin against Sandor Martin. You want to give Sandor Martin another shot? You think the PBC owes him blue? The PBC owes him something, right? Hook Sandor Martin up with an opportunity to redeem himself and give him Frank Martin. I like it. Jermaine Ortiz footwork would cause a lot of fighters trouble. 100%. Shout out to Blaze pound for pound in the building. Fight Sports Talk. Salute. I wonder is Frank Martin thinks he fought too hesitant against Tank after watching that Lamont Roach Jr. did. Yeah. He has to feel that way. If he doesn't feel that way, there's a disconnect there. If Frank Martin has to look back at that fight that he had with Tank Davis and ask himself what he could have done differently to have changed the results of that fight, I think he'd have to say, I was running way too much. I was moving around way too much. I could have stood in there and did a lot more work, standing a little bit more flat-footed, catching shots, throwing back, rather than constantly staying on my toes and trying to find my way out of a bad situation, even when it wasn't that bad, right? I'd have to say that. So he definitely has to look at that fight that Roach had and feel, damn, this guy came up from 130 and was able to stand in there with Tank. I know I should have been able to stand in there a little bit longer than I did. I would hope he walked away with that. Let me see. Claymore Rain, I missed the beginning. Did you cover the TKO Dana White takeover? Not yet, JR. I haven't done it yet. Let me see. Clay, you don't like Frank versus Michelle Rivera? They already fought. Flyer, they already fought. Frank and Michelle already fought, man. Let me see. You always have the long 20-plus fight prospect, Brandon Lee. He's a PBC guy. I agree with you about Frank, Clay. Yeah. Frank fought with a lot of nervous energy, a lot. Yeah, man. Frank was never going to win. The weight drain inevitability was going to cost him to lose either way. Yeah, he's probably stayed. You think Frank was a victim of staying at 135 a little too long? Maybe one fight too long? Maybe. We got to see what happens, man. It's a rumor right now, though, as far as him and Edwin De Los Santos. But like I said, I've been hearing about that negotiation being an ongoing thing ever since about 6+ months ago. I've been hearing about that. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if that's the fight that we're going to see in May between Edwin and Frank. We'll see what happens. You know what I mean? Let me see here. WBO mandates Usyk versus Alexander Usyk versus Joseph Parker. And obviously, also at the same time, rumors going around that Daniel Dubois and Alexander Usyk are negotiating to have a fight in the works as well. So here we go with another sanctioning body kind of like jumping in the middle of Turkey's business. Right, and kind of putting their foot down and saying, "Listen, we're not operating on your time. This is boxing business. You don't run nothing over here. Matter of fact, what we're going to do is, boom, we're going to activate this mandatory, and it's not going to be Daniel Dubois and Alexander Usyk next. It's going to be Joseph Parker and Alexander Usyk. What are my opinions on it? Oh man, L Dub said Parker deserves it. 100. Parker deserves it. Oh. I hear you, L-Dub. Parker does deserve it, right? But damn it, so does Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois deserves it too, man. And that's an interesting situation, right? Because now you got to ask yourself who deserves it more. And I think the easy thing to go back on is to say that Daniel Dubois didn't fight on the last Riyadh season card. He got sick. Joseph Parker stepped up and took a dangerous opponent like Martin Bakole. Even though Martin Bakole came in there well over 315 pounds, way out of shape, completely out of shape. And even though some might argue that Martin Bakole was hurting Joseph Parker in that fight until he finally caught him with that crazy shot that nobody could have prepared for, right over the top, hit him right on the crown of his head, and knock his equilibrium off. Still, he showed the heart and he stepped up and he fought the replacement in the boogeyman of the division at the time, Martin Bakole. You want to reward that type of heart, right? You want to reward that type of attitude, that type of approach to boxing. But at the same time, you got Daniel Dubois, who had a very controversial moment with Alexander Usyk, hitting him with that body shot. You have him having one of the most biggest comeback years of 2024. His journey's been second to none, right? Beating Jarrell Big Baby Miller, beating Philip Ergovich, knocking out Anthony Joshua, stopping all three of those fighters, by the way, stopping Jarrell, stopping Philip, and stopping Anthony Joshua to becoming the IBF champion. And the history's there between them. I got to be honest with you guys. I would favor Daniel Dubois getting that fight before I gave it to Joseph Parker. That's why I would stand with it. But I understand it going either way, right? Both those guys, Joseph Parker had a decent little comeback year, but I don't think his comeback year matches up with Daniel Dubois' comeback year. I'll be honest with you. Somebody who's getting questioned for his heart. He stopped Jarrell Big Baby Miller for the first time. Nobody's beaten Jarrell Big Baby Miller, nor came close to stopping him. He stopped Philip Ergovich. Nobody did that. And then he stopped Anthony Joshua. And, Andy Ruiz did that, but, not the way that Daniel did it, right? Like, Daniel knocked him clean out. I don't know. What did Joseph Parker do? He went through a fighter I'm not familiar with, all the way an Englishman. Then he went and he beat a Deontay Wilder who was out of his – to say he was out of his prime would be an understatement, right? Like, Deontay just wasn't even himself. He was like a complete different person. And then he beat a Zhang that was just fat and out of shape as well, right? Impressive wins in their own right, but I don't think they match up resume to resume as far as what Daniel Dubois did. I think that story is just there. So it'll all come down to what Alexander Usyk wants, though, right? Alexander Usyk seems to have more interest in the Daniel Dubois fight. This Joseph Parker fight seems to be a fight that's more so lined up with what the sanctioning bodies want. And we already saw how he handled the IBF title when they threatened to strip him of that. He vacated the belt and let Daniel Dubois fight Anthony Joshua for it, or fight Philip Ergovich for it, whatever ended up happening in that situation, right? He went ahead and he vacated that belt. So he's not going to get pushed around by the sanctioning bodies to do something he doesn't want to do. He's going to do something for himself. He's made a lot of money. His legacy's intact. He's a two-weight class undisputed champion. He has the biggest victories in the game, beat Anthony Joshua twice, beat Tyson Fury twice, beat Daniel Dubois once. If he beats him again, that puts him in position to become undisputed. But now that, they're threatening to strip that belt from him, we'll see how the sanctioning bodies try to carry it. Let me see here. Shout out to Dub. Dub in the building. Dub says Wilder, Joshua, Zhang, Bakole. Oh, you're talking about Wilder, Joshua, Zhang, Bakole. You talking about Joseph Parker's resume? Joseph Parker has the best resume. I agree to a degree. I'm saying in the last three fights, the last year that they had, in comparison to their last three fights and the last three fights against each other. I'm not talking about their whole career, right? I'm saying in the last three fights, specifically in 2024, I believe Daniel Dubois had the more competitive schedule. And I think his wins were more impressive. Those stoppages against those fighters, more impressive. And I think Daniel Dubois is a bigger star than Joseph Parker. I think that fight, knocking out Anthony Joshua in front of 86,000+ people in Wembley Stadium, I think just speaks for itself. It's just a bigger fight. That's what I think. Let's see. L-Dub says, don't rule out the IBF ordering Dubois versus Chisora. Chisora won an eliminator versus Wiley, and that's true. And Bakole versus FA, IBF got canceled. That's what I heard. So Chisora may get the nod. Stay tuned. I hear you on that one, man. I don't think. Let me ask you this, L-Dub. Doesn't the unifications cancel out all these mandatories? In other words, if Daniel Dubois and Alexander Usyk schedule a fight, would that WBO title still be up to be ripped away from Alexander Usyk if he didn't defend it against Joshua, being that it's a unification title fight happening? And I'm saying that because I'm going to relate it to the Errol Spence situation where he had the mandatory in Jaron Ennis, but it seemed like that got paused, excuse me, because Terrence Crawford and him were going to unify. Isn't that how that works? Dub says yes. Unification trumps mandatory. Exactly. All right, Dub. Exactly. So if they decide to unify with each other, that kind of eliminates the whole pressure of the mandatory situation, doesn't it? So that's what I would believe. Yeah. Fight Sports said yes. Unifications override mandatories, but a sanctioned body sometimes overstep their boundaries and order them anyway. I hear you. I hear you, man. Dubois has his chance and lost in a mostly one-sided fight. Parker has taken on everyone. I'm going to lose my mind over Usyk versus Parker. I know the New Zealander coming out of you, Fight Sport. I know, man. Let me see here. L Dub says depends on the situation. Parker had been WBO interim for over a year. Unification don't always trump mandatories. See, that's weird. That's what I'm talking about, right? Like, I'm be honest with you. Like, those are the things I'm talking about with the weird way the rules work and in these title fights and all these damn titles and interims and regular titles and super titles, and it just gets confusing. And I think because of that, this is where Dana White, Turki Al-Sheikh, and Nick Khan come into play, and why they're filling in a space that boxing has been needed to be filled in for a while. I know people are upset about it and they want to turn it into this whole entire American pride thing, but at the end of the day, the American promoters have done this to themselves. You know, just not just American promoters in general, just have done this to themselves, man. They made it to where they made room for Turki Al-Sheikh to come in and do what he did. Or what he's getting ready to do. Fight Sports said, no bias, bro. I just like to fight. I hear you. I'm just messing with you, Fight Sports Talk. Even though I'm kind of not messing with you. Like, I kind of feel like you kind of got that New Zealand thing going on. But at the same time, I think it's a worthwhile fight. I think Joseph Parker deserves an opportunity. I just do. But I do think if it's them against each other, if it's Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker, like between those guys, who's the bigger fight for Alexander Usyk? That's got to be the question. Right? Because they both deserve it in their own right, deserve the fight. But what's the bigger fight? I think the bigger fight is Daniel Dubois. That's what I think, man. Unification is the only thing that trumps mandatories, not other title fights in a different weight class. Unification always trump mandatories in the same weight class. I hear you, Dub. I hear you, man. I hear you, Dub. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. We'll see what they decide to do with that. I personally believe that Usyk is going to take the Dubois fight and he's going to put Joseph Parker on getting the winner. Even if he has to vacate the belt and let Joseph Parker become a WBO champion, upgraded the same way Daniel Dubois did, it makes the fight bigger for the next fight. Now we can go for undisputed. You know what I mean? Either way, Alexander Usyk sits in a great position because he gets to go to be a two-time undisputed heavyweight champion and a two-weight class undisputed champion. It works out for him in the long run either way. You know, I think Daniel Dubois is a fight that people want to see more. And they got the story there. The story's there between them. Let me see. L-Dub said, let me see. Claymore Rain. If you haven't seen Lou DiBella interview, please watch it. He was dropping gems in that, bro. It's right here on my paper. That Lou DiBella interview was so profound, man. It was so profound. Lou just killing it. Him and Ariel Helwani. What an interview, man. I wish I could be part of those kind of conversations, man. When I see interviews like that with Ariel Helwani, those are the type of interviews or conversations I want to get involved in, the type of, gems that were getting dropped in that. Just kind of letting it be known that boxing has just been out of order for years, right? And we all know that as boxing fans. We understand the position boxing has put fans in dealing with the corruption and the sometime rules, and the sometimes we use it here, sometimes it don't apply here, and how the mandatories are treated and how the sanctioning bodies will treat fighters better than other fighters, allow a Canelo Alvarez to walk around undisputed for years without fighting his mandatories, but at the same time we'll put a mandatory a mandated fight between Bivol and Benavidez just like that. Put it on Bivol. Bivol's like a month away from winning his title, becoming undisputed. And here comes the WBC mandating a fight between him and Benavidez, knowing that there's a trilogy that's supposed to be getting in the works. But who's going to stop these guys from doing that, right? It's just, we've been dealing this for years. And Dana responding to the situation, saying that boxing's been broken for years and that that he's here to address that, right? That this TKO movement is here to address that dilemma that boxing fans have been dealing with. And I have to keep it real with you guys. I gotta say, boxing fans have been dealing with, right? Because of the promoters have been making off like fat cats, right? Like they've been walking around here heavy, getting the most money. They've been living their best lives. A lot of fighters haven't been active enough and haven't been making the money. When you think about the fighters who are legitimately like Josh Padley, an electrician, for a full-time job and kind of doing boxing on a part-time basis, because they can't afford to just do boxing by itself because they're not getting the paydays that they need to just be focused on their boxing careers. The promoters always make out like a fat cat, and the sanctioning bodies also make out like a fat cat because their titles always remain around the waist of somebody who's, bringing in the money. And if he's not bringing in the money, they're going to set him up as soon as they can to get that belt off him, to get him in a situation to fight somebody where the money's actually at, right? Yeah, Lou DiBella was dropping a lot of information in that interview. That was one of the biggest interviews of 2025, in my opinion, because if you really want some understanding and some real perspective on what this is all about, watch that interview. And Lou DiBella's talking that real talk. Famor, I thought the interview was insightful and validating to true boxing fans. 100%, JR, 100%. It just let us understand. It made our thoughts clear, right? We can talk about it, rant about it, but sometimes you got to hear from somebody who's on the ground working inside of this system and dealing with all the obstacles that he has to deal with in order to make boxing somewhat honorable. And you got to hear from him telling you like this was going to happen, because these guys have been working inside of a broken system that has been getting them rich for years, right? That's what the whole problem is, that they've been enablers of this system because they found a way to make a lot of money in it. But has it grown the sport accordingly? There's arguments to say nah. Yeah, man, that interview was profound. As someone who came over from MMA side, I'm so glad for Turkey's deal with Dana. Yeah, man, I agree with you. We got that fight because Boots and Norman Jr. couldn't come to an agreement. I don't know what that one's about. I don't know what that conversation is about. You see, unifications don't always trump mandatories. Depends on you remember Boots versus Norman last summer. IBF was hell-bent on ordering Karen, and that's what we got. Yeah, but I thought that happened because the deal fell through between Brian Norman. Well, no, yeah, I heard that I don't know. I hear you, man. Let me see here. If Usyk don't fight Parker next, he will be stripped of the WBO title, and Parker will be elevated to full WBO champion 2 times. Wow. I could believe it, man. I could believe it. 2 Cents says, how's the fasting going, Clay? I ain't gonna lie to you. I haven't been fasting. I got to make it up because I've been sick as a dog. I've had the flu since Monday. And I've had to drink water. You know what I mean? I got to drink water because I got to take my medicine. So I ain't swallowing medicine without no water. So, and I got to stay hydrated. So I've been on a timeout for my fast. I feel like I'm going to kick it off back tomorrow if I can get through tomorrow. Regardless, I'm going to work. But I should be back on my fast tomorrow. But I haven't been able to be on the fast this week. I really had to make sure I was hydrated. Really had to make sure of that. Thanks. I'm gonna check it out. It's with that MMA dude that always interview MMA guys, Ariel Helwani. That's what I'm saying. Boots was mad because he had to fight Karen because the other champions at 147 wouldn't agree to fight him. Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he would have been able to unify, he wouldn't have had to fight Karen. But I think it was Rachel Donaire who spoke on it and said that the fight was already mandated and there was no getting out of it, that the fight between him and Brian Norman wasn't going to happen regardless. I thought that's what the argument was at the time. I'm not sure, though. The real deal fell through because Karen exercises right and has mandatory, which superseded Boots versus. Yeah, that's what I heard. What L-Dub is saying, that's what I heard. I heard that the fight couldn't get put together anyway because Karen had already activated his right to get the mandatory. That's what I heard, which is weird because I could see where Dub is coming from because damn, well, we got L-Dub and then we got Well Connected, who I call Dub as well. That's kind of funny. But I see where Well Connected is coming from, though. Yep. What Rachel said. That's facts. Exactly, L-Dub. Yeah, Rachel had commented on it. So it is what it is. It is what it is, man. So Hamza Shiraz moving up to 168 pounds. You guys hear about that? Who didn't see that coming? Who didn't see that coming? Yeah, man, Hamza Shiraz coming off that super weird performance against Carlos Adames, the very controversial performance where Turki Al-Sheikh is telling Hamza that he was down 2 points or 2 rounds and, you know, pressuring him to kind of pick up the action. Hamza Shiraz coming off a horrible performance. And I want to say unlike himself performance, because I think we all used to see Hamza be a complete different fighter than he was against Carlos Adames. Rumor going around that he had hurt his hand in that fight. That kind of had a lot to do with why he stayed reserved with his hands and didn't let his hands go. And obviously moving around a whole lot, got a controversial draw in that fight where most people felt like Carlos Adames won the fight. Naturally, on a draw in a situation like that, you probably be looking for the rematch, right? Well, it looks like Hamza Shiraz is going to pass on a rematch and go ahead and move up to 168 pounds, which I think is the right move for him. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think he's a 160-pound fighter. I think he's a big dude. I think 168 is a minimum for him. I can even see him going up to 175. He's a real tall dude, real skinny. I'm sure he can fill out and make 175 pretty easily as well. But at 168, I think he's a way more of a threat, and that weight cut's going to help him out a lot. Hey, when you get off, I'm gonna show you how our man going through this right now. How when you get off, I'm gonna show you how ill man going through this right now. All right, no doubt. Let me see here. Yo, salute the Freedom March. Fly Frequency says, well, there was a certain amount of days Boots had to notify a sanctioned body of a title fight before the mandatory was final, Clay. Okay. Let me see here. It is what it is. Let me ask you guys though. What do you think that God, man, where was I at? I had a real question for you dudes, man. Oh yeah, Richardson Hitchens. Does Richardson Hitchens need to consider going up to 147 at this point? Or, I mean, what is he going to do with this whole entire IBF rehydration clause that he seems to be having a hard time dealing with? Any an opinion either way? Turkey will put him in line, I guess, is what I meant to say. Usyk will fight Dubois. That's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think. I think he's fighting Dubois. I think he'll just vacate that belt and call it a day and come get it later in a unification fight. It'll be a bigger fight. Yeah. Oh, salute Hood Rich. Salute. Salute, family. Yeah, Hitchens is doing everything he can to avoid Subriel Matias. Do you think he's avoiding Subriel Matias, or do you think he's avoiding the rehydration clause? What do you think? You know what I mean? Because there's a part of me that feels like he wouldn't have no problem fighting Subriel Matias if it wasn't for that rehydration clause. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like you'd fight him. But I feel like he's in a situation where vacating the belt would be career suicide, and you can't avoid Subriel for so long. You can only do so much to avoid him. If T.O.'s not going to fight you, if you can't unify, I mean, you can fight against Gary, which I think is a horrible fight for you. I think it's going to be a difficult fight for Hitchinson to fight against Gary Antoine. Unless he gets somebody to unify with him. Like right now, he's waiting on George Kambosos to win his next fight, right? That's crazy. Hitchinson in Orlando right now for the Jalil fight. I just talked to Boxing Source. He out there with him. Yeah, Hitchinson was out there in Orlando, definitely, because he's out there. Him and Erickson Lubin have that relationship. So he's always out there in Orlando. He's definitely out there. Let me see. If Hitchens avoiding the clause, then he needs to move up. I'm tired of these weight bullies. Yeah, Ross Scott, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm not so tired of the weight bullies, but yeah, in a situation like this, I'm tired of the weight bullies. Right? In a situation where you're avoiding, where Subriel Matias has earned himself a mandatory. He fought in a title eliminator. in a mandatory that he has now for that IBF title, and you still won't fight him. And we all know the story around when you beat Gustavo Lemos and act like you wasn't going to fight for that belt because Subriel Matias had the belt, but then you went and fought Liam Parra when you saw Liam Parra got that victory. It's a nasty work out here. Antonio MMA says Subriel was IBF champion for like a year and a half. He's been under that same rehydration clause. He's just making excuses. I mean, yeah, it's definitely an excuse because when you get that title, you should know what comes with it. But I think it could be an inconvenient truth. If Hitchinson's having a hard time staying inside that weight class, it's because he's too big for the division. That's what it means. And you're weight bullying. The only practical solution is for you to go ahead and move up in weight, go to 147. Right? Or you got to kind of carry it like Boots did. Like Boots is on the same mission as Hitchens right now, right? Boots is basically on, I'm not defending my IBF title, but I'll unify. As soon as I have to defend it, I might just move up to 154 because he's getting the weight cuts are getting more difficult for Boots, right? So he's in the same situation, but it doesn't look like the unifications are there for for Hitchens. It doesn't look like they're there for him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays it out. Ryan tweets saying they're asking a lot of him. Yeah, definitely. Guys, make sure we're hitting the likes. If you haven't hit the likes yet, please go ahead and do that for me. I appreciate you guys. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Appreciate you guys again, man. Let me see here. That's asking a lot of him. Ain't nobody taking a harder cut than what Errol did holding the IBF championship from 2017 to 2023. Yeah, man, it's real excuses. Clay, his trainer came out and spoke on Mills Live. What did his trainer say? Antonio? What did Hitchinson's trainer say? Defending is a high risk, low reward if there's not big money on the line. 100%, 2 cents. 100%. Yeah, EJ should have moved up, Mr. Big Play. You're right. Yeah, defending that IBF title. If you're not supposed to be in that division, if you're a weight bully, that money better make sense because having to stay inside 10 pounds the morning of the fight is diabolical. What did Lenny say? Lenny said on Mills, Richardson can stay at 140 for however he wants. He can stay at 140, but can he keep it under 150 or at 150 when it's the morning of the fight without starving himself, without dehydrating himself, without drinking any water? Is he hurting himself physically to stay inside that 10-pound rehydration clause on fight day, morning of the fight? That's the question. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. We'll see. Let me see. We've covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover for the most part. I wanted to talk on the middleweight division a little bit. With Ammo Williams, most likely not. He definitely hurting himself for sure. Yeah, Antonio. Hitchens is fricassee duck. No doubt, Ray. I agree with you, man. I think it's looking bad for him out here. I know he's trying to make the best of it, but I feel like if you can't make those unification fights, you might want to get out the division and go up to 147. We'll see what he does, though. I don't think he has a choice. I think vacating that title and still fighting at 140 is going to be diabolical. It's not going to be a good look for him. Roscoe, not the wild turkey. EJ from the hood. He on that Hennessy for sure. Yeah, man. He wasted a lot of his good years partying, right? Trying to be a rapper instead of being the best boxer in the world. It is what it is. Let me see here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to hold you. We're about an hour and 20 minutes into it. This was going to be a short one. I wasn't coming here for a long time. I was here for a good time, not a long time. Looking like Regis right now. KD the boxer, salute, brother Clay. Salute, KD. What's good with you, family? Fly frequency. Yeah, you can fight Gary. That's a unification fight, but I think it's a harder fight. But at least you ain't got that rehydration clause hurting you. I wonder, do Santa Martin get a shot at Richardson? Nope. Dang, I missed out, Clay. How you doing, great brother, man? I'm still feeling under the weather, KD. I'm still feeling under the weather, man. And I don't have no water around here. I should have had my water situation. Starting to feel a little parched. Thinking about laying it up, man. I got to go to work tomorrow, so I got to make sure I got my game face on tomorrow, man. Whatever I got left, hope I get it gone tonight. I just got we love skating box, a small thing to a giant, for sure. For sure. For sure. Definitely, man. Let me see here. Africa should fight Regis. Nah, bro. Horrible. Yeah, once again, this is a waste of time for him, man. Thurman curled up with a body shot. Wait, Thurman curled up with the body shots. His body's still an issue. You saw that in the fight? Yeah, I saw Jarvis attacking that body, but I don't feel like it hurt him that bad. I don't think it hurt him. Thank you, man. Yeah, not yesterday, day before yesterday, Antonio. That's when I was sick. I'm still sick. For sure, Flyer. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys, man. I think Thurman and Spence should both go ahead and fight one another. Yeah, at this point, I think that's a good fight for Keith, but I think Tim Tszyu is also the next fight. That's probably the more realistic fight, just because Errol doesn't look. I don't know if Errol's coming back. I'm being honest with you. I don't know if he's coming back. 2 cents, take a light touch and regroup, get a bag, and try another unification late in the year. That's always an option. Hitchens better try for Puello before PBC forces unification with Gary. Yeah. Mr. Big Play Brave with the $2 and it said last call. Yes, sir, man. Last call. If you haven't put some color in the chat and you was going to and you forgot, you got an opportunity right now. You know what I'm saying? Last call. Thank you for the support, Mr. Big Play Brave. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you, man. He's coming back. I train in the gym with him in Dallas. I'm from Dallas. Okay. All right. I mean, you know what, KD? You know what's crazy is I've heard this over and over again with Errol, right? I've heard that he's in boxing shape and that he's ready to come back, and he's just waiting on a call. And my whole thing is, what is he waiting on? If he's ready, what is he waiting on? Is it the money? They don't want me to start talking about money because then they're gonna say I'm throwing shots at the PBC, right? That's what they're gonna say. They're gonna say I'm throwing shots at the PBC if I start talking about money. So if it's not physical, a situation where Errol can't fight right now, where he's physically ready, why isn't he fighting? Shout out to Freedom March with a holla. I appreciate let me see here. EJ needs clearance from doctors. Okay, that's what Ray's saying. The good thing about him not fighting, let me see here. The good thing about him not fighting is that he's not putting miles on the clock. Errol's body clearly needs a break. Yeah, that's a good thing about it, but the question is the lack of activity hurting him for somebody who wants to get back in the ring and compete at the highest level, right? One thing about Errol Spence is he doesn't like to compete. He doesn't do tune-ups. So he's going to want to come right in the door competing at the highest level in the 154-pound division, the hardest hornet's nest division in boxing right now, arguably. The more time he spends outside the ring, I think it just gets worse for him. I don't know. It is what it is. All right, guys, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for the love, man. Thanks for coming out here and building with the kid. We talked about a little bit about boxing. I'm still dealing with this flu, so we're working our way. Next week, I should be right on point. I should be healed up 100%, back on my energy, back where I need to be. We'll see how I feel on Saturday. If I can get on point on Saturday, I might cover the fight. I might cover the fight card on Saturday. We'll see. But if not, worst case scenario, I'll see you guys Tuesday, right? I appreciate you guys. Thank you for the love. Please remember to go ahead and hit the like button if you haven't done it. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't taken the opportunity to do that yet. It's a wonderful day, man. We're making it through this. It's your boy Rain. It's that ATP Combat Media Show. And at this point, blah, we out.
They hate when you elevate. They Stacking up losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, yeah. I had to elevate. I'm way too fly, yeah, I'm feeling myself. Ain't no chance I'm coming down, no. Got a soul view to myself, yeah. Why would I give it up? Why do they wanna come take my place? I work too hard for it, don't need a replacement. It's my vocation, now I got rollies, all in rotation. Hop on a jet just to take a vacation. Remember the moments was trapped in the basement. Now the hard work is all taking me places. Swatting all blood like we trapped in the matrix. Bet on myself and go ball out in Vegas. Living a life like I'm rich and I'm famous. Don't see the grind that I know that it came